Can you imagine having to get through a 55 years worth of stuff? Selling your home, buying a new home, moving, and doing it all in a month's time. Have I got a story for you? Stay tuned. Hi, and welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for being here. Well, I've got a story for you today, and I hope that it encourages you that if you have to make a life change for whatever reason, whether it's a change that you are choosing to do, or maybe a change that wasn't your choice but you find it necessary, this is the video for you. I have to tell you a little backstory first, and that is about my brother-in-law, Ken. Now, Ken was married to my sister for 55 years. She unfortunately passed away in July. They lived down here in South Carolina 6 months out of the year, and then the other 6 months they lived in Pennsylvania. Well, when they moved down here, they brought all the things that they wanted, all their stuff, and they bought a rather large home. So that house had a lot of stuff in it. 55 years of stuff. Pictures, knickknacks, collectibles, furniture, awards that their daughter won when she was a child. Just everything you could imagine you would accumulate over 55 years of time. Now, of course, it was a very difficult time for Ken. After losing his life partner, his wife of 55 years, he was just totally devastated, shocked, bewildered, overwhelmed, sorrowful, heartbroken, every emotion you could imagine. Eventually, over time, over several months, he realized he could not continue to live in that large home. He felt lost in it. It was just too big for one person. And so he had to make some very difficult choices. Also, due to his health, he really needed to be closer to me. It's not that he was that far away, less than a mile, but it would have been great if he could live right in my neighborhood on my street. And fortunately, a house became available. In the beginning, he just couldn't leave that house, that big house. It represented my sister. That's where they shared their time together. That's where they were living. So everything about that house reminded him of my sister, and I think that brought him comfort. On the other hand, I'm sure it was very depressing for him because she also passed away in that house. So walking around and walking in the room where she lay in bed during her final days and months had to be very sad and very depressing for him. So it was a lot of mixed emotions. So that's sort of a little backstory. Now let's cut to the chase of what happened and how quickly it happened. At the end of November, a house became available in my neighborhood. And Ken looked at it and he bought it. And so that way he would be right here by Dave and I. Well, he just couldn't seem to move into it. He was just so attached to the home him and my sister shared together. So after weeks went by, he closed on the house. He wasn't living there. He didn't move anything in there. It was just an empty house he owned. He slowly started bringing a few things over. A couple chairs, a table, a coffee cup, like one coffee cup, things like that. And he would go there sometimes during the day for a couple hours, but then go back to the home they shared. So then he decided he would live in both houses. He would live a couple days a week in this house and a couple days a week in the other house, which really, didn't make a lot of sense, or it may not make sense to you or I, but it did to him because he was trying to get used to the idea of starting over. He would be starting a new life, a life alone, a life without his wife of 55 years. So he was like practicing, spending half the week in one house and half in the other. He still couldn't move anything over. He was kind of paralyzed. He was overwhelmed. He couldn't make any decisions. When we talked about starting to get rid of some things, like go ahead and decide what you would like to have in your new house, and then the things you don't want we'll get rid of, whether it be through selling them, donating them, whatever it may be. He couldn't make the decision of what to get rid of because everything represented my sister. She loved her stuff and she had a lot of it. I mean, a lot of stuff that she had accumulated over all those years and hung on to. He felt guilty getting rid of anything that belonged to her. He was really struggling and just couldn't seem to make a move and do anything but live in limbo between both houses. And that went on for the whole month of December. Then, in the first week of January, we had a conversation, and we had had this conversation many times over the previous months, but he wasn't ready to make any changes at all. Well, this time, for some reason, he agreed. He said, I know I should really sell, the house that Kathy and I lived in and go ahead and move into the smaller house. I know I should do that. Well, I took a different approach this time. And I said, oh, I agree with you, Ken. Do you really feel that way? And he said, yeah, I know I need to do it. But yet, he had said that before and he couldn't. Well, this time, I just took the bull by the horns and said, okay, come on, let's go up to your old house now and start looking around at things you might want to move to the new house and what you want to do with the rest of it. In the meantime, that same day, I called Rita, who is our realtor, and I've talked about her before on my channel, and I asked her, could you come over this afternoon? Ken wants to talk about or just start getting some information about possibly selling his big house. And she came over. Well, that day he signed the papers to sell the house. So the very next day, I called an auctioneer. I asked if they could come out and look at everything in the house and see what they would take and what they could auction, and they did. The guy came 3 days later. He looked over everything. He said everything he would take, and there were a few things he would not take. Most of that was like big furniture, like a huge desk, a couch, a chair, and a coffee table. So he said I could have my truck here in 3 days, and they'll pick everything up. They'll take all the dishes, the crystal, the pots and pans, the silverware, the everything. So that was perfect. Also, during that same time, that same day, I called Habitat for Humanity and asked when would be the time they would be coming to our area to pick things up. They told me it would have been like 10 days later. and they said they did take couches, rugs, and the things that the auctioneer did not take. So I scheduled that. We also ran an ad on, I think it's called Google Marketplace or something like that, to sell one of his golf carts because he had two. Had someone call about it, he came out, he looked at it, he liked it, he bought it, so it was gone. Now, realize all this is happening in a week's time. And also during that week of making all those calls and those arrangements, every day, me, Dave, my husband, and Ken, my brother-in-law, were moving things over to the new house in our pickup truck. Now, you can't get a whole lot in a pickup truck, so we made several trips a day, every day, for well over a week straight, and then continued to take additional things. So we got a lot of stuff moved in to his new house. As we moved things in, they were put into place where they would go. I love to move and I love to organize and things like that. So my rule is when you move boxes in, you put everything away. You empty that box right then and there. You put it where it belongs, where it's going to go, and then the box is empty and goes out of the house. I don't like to see someone move in and have stacks of boxes all over the house in every room, the garage full of boxes, and furniture just, thrown in the house anywhere. No, everything went where it was supposed to go. So the house looked livable and very nice from the very beginning. I mean, it looked like he had been living there for a year. It was all set up. When a lamp came in, it was put on a table where it should go, either a nightstand, just a decorative table in the room, whatever. And the light bulb was in it, and we made sure it worked. So it looked like a really nice, inviting, and cozy home. And that's what we wanted for Ken. We wanted him to feel at home and not just dumped in a house and this mountain of work to do. Also during that time, they were making trips to the dump, stuff that had to be just thrown away because it was broken, you couldn't donate it or anything, and just pieces like that there was no point to donate or put in the auction because they wouldn't take it. So just clearing out trash and things. Several trips to the dump, several trips to Goodwill, because Habitat or the auction house did not take clothing, and there was still clothing of my sisters in the home and things like that. So trips were made to those places as well. When the house was completely emptied, I had already called the week before a cleaning company that does a deep clean if you're getting ready to put your house on the market. So the day after the auctioneer came and picked everything up, then they came in and they cleaned the entire house, every room, every bathroom, every drawer. And the day after that, the house was listed in MLS by Rita, the realtor, to start being shown. At that point, Ken was living in his new home now. So as everything was happening so fast, all these calls being made, all these arrangements and appointments and everything, poor Ken, his head was just spinning. He would say, what's happening today? Am I moving? Am I selling the house? Who's coming today? What's going on? I mean, he was just blown away because he expected it to take, in his opinion, he thought it would take a couple of years. He really believed that. So it was just kind of comical how it just was just making his head spin. And I would just say, yep, everything's all lined up. Come on, we got to get going. We got to do this. We got to do that. And just kept him on that schedule. And it worked out perfectly. Now, I tell you all this because to actually get him from the old house that he shared with my sister to the new house that he moved to in my neighborhood took actually less than a month. To do all of that, to have an auctioneer come in, to have them come back and pick up all the furniture for auction, to have the cleaning company come in, to have Habitat come in, to have people come to look at the golf cart, to make all those trips to Goodwill and the dump. All that in less than a month. And even though he bought the new home November 30th, he didn't move into it until January, about January the 6th. And today is January 16th. And he's been living in the home since the first week of January. And his house is on the market. And it's all done. Everything's done. He's completely settled. There's no boxes in the house to unpack, no furniture to put in place, things like that. It was absolutely remarkable and amazing and fun. I love that kind of stuff. So the reason I'm sharing this with you is like I said in the beginning. Sometimes we just choose to make a big change, like Dave and I did when we moved from Virginia to South Carolina. We chose that because we wanted to retire here and live in a warm climate and have an active outdoor lifestyle, etc. Other times, due to a death in the family, maybe a health crisis that you are having yourself personally, so you need to make a change, or maybe you just want to downsize or declutter and simplify your life. You have to make a lot of major decisions, and it is so overwhelming in our minds. It just seems impossible, but it isn't. I'm here to tell you that you can do all of that in a month's time. We didn't have movers to move the furniture to his new house. We did it. 3 old guys, Ken is 79, I'm 72, soon to be 73 in May, and Dave is the baby of the group. He's 65. But still, we're no spring chickens. But we did it. And we laughed and we had fun, and it kept us going all day, and it turned out to be just an amazing experience. The point I want to make is, if you need to make a change, have to make a change, or just choose to make a change, don't let it overwhelm you. Don't look at a 3,000 square foot home that's filled with all your treasures, a packed garage, things like that, and think, oh, there's no way. I just can't do this. This will take forever. And that's what Ken thought. He thought it would take 2 years. Well, it took less than a month. You can do it. Make up your mind, make your decision, make your phone calls, line everything up. If you're selling a home, call a realtor. If you're selling furniture or possessions, start advertising or have an auctioneer come in. If you have stuff that you can donate to Goodwill or Habitat, give them a call to schedule pickups and make trips to the dump to get rid of the junk. It is possible, and you can get so much accomplished. Do not let that feeling of being overwhelmed stop you and paralyze you. Don't let that happen. The sooner you get these things accomplished, the quicker you can get settled in your life. Your life won't be disrupted for months on end. It's going to be a long, hard month, but it'll all be over with. It'll be done. Don't get bogged down in the details and look at something and say, well, I could let this go to auction, or maybe if I sold it myself, I could make more money. I could put it on Nextdoor app or Marketplace or here or there. Sure, you could do that, and you may make more money, but time is money. By the time you advertise, then you have strangers coming to your home to look at what you're trying to sell. And then you have to wait till someone decides, and then they come back to pick it up, etc. It draws everything out. You may have the time for that, but believe me, it just extends the time for you to be able to get settled. Time is money, and you don't want to waste your time. Make your decisions, stick with your decisions, and carry out your plan. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about. I wanted to encourage any of you who are thinking of making changes or whatever. I want you to know that it can be done. If any of you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. I'll be happy to answer them. If you want me to do a more in-depth video on this whole process, I'll be happy to do that. I just want you all to have the best life you can have, and for it to be as easy on you as it can. There is hope, people. Never give up on hope. You can do it. We did, and so can you. Well, now I want to leave you with an inside beauty tip. My inside beauty tip today comes from Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. This verse is a verse of encouragement and hope and God's intentions for our lives. It's a reminder for us of God's faithfulness and that we are to trust in His plan. No matter what the circumstances are, no matter what you're going through, He's going to be there. He knows what's going to happen in your life. No matter how challenging things can get, there is a plan. Now, I know that can be difficult to believe sometimes, especially for someone who has gone through what Ken has gone through. He lost his wife of 55 years. That defined the majority of his life. He did not want to live without her. He couldn't imagine living life without her beside him at all times. But life changes, doesn't it? It changes for all of us in many ways, and we never know when it's going to change or how it's going to change. Ken didn't see a plan for his future. He just saw nothing but misery and sorrow. And to look at him today, he's a new person. He is at peace. He is happy in his new home. He is happy that he is settled. He is living in a new routine, a new atmosphere, and getting accustomed to his new life. It was a new beginning for him, not one that he chose, but one that he was dealt. But he made it. He is dealing with it. and he is happy. And that just fills my heart with so much joy to see him that way. I think it's human nature to plan out our whole lives. We don't think anything's going to change. We never even entertain the thought that we may lose our life partner. But it happens. That's part of life. Don't let fear hold you back from making the decisions that you need to make in order to receive the new plan God has for your life. We may have no intentions of downsizing or moving. Maybe you love where you live, or you wouldn't mind moving, but you never will because you want to be close to your grandchildren. Oh my gosh, that is totally understandable. But a day may come where your grandchildren and their parents get a job offer and move across the country. And then you're not living near them anymore. Maybe the parents are divorced and the one parent meets someone else and that person has a job somewhere else, and so they move. All kind of things can happen to change our current circumstances. Try to look at those things as new opportunities, as new doors that are opening for you. And you are going to be able to have a happy, fulfilling life. We never know where the road is going to lead us in the future, do we? We have no idea. But if you trust in God, trust in His plan for your life, trust that He wants no harm to come to you. He wants to prosper you. He wants you to have hope and encouragement. You'll be okay. I promise you that. I thank you so much for being here today. I truly do appreciate it. And until we meet again, this is the old girl signing out. See ya.